A wild New York Jets trade could be incoming, as a report from Dan Braziano has revealed the New York Jets could have interest in Budda Baker if the Cardinals decide to move on from their longtime safety, and Matt and I are going to break this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. We're back. I'm wearing my Knicks shirt because you better believe I do it over there on Knicks Digest too. Subscribe to the channel. As that one person saw, I will hire Alex Pereira to come beat people up if they don't. And also, you know what? Then I'll just get rid of Matt. And if you guys don't subscribe, I'll just talk like this from now on. And no more Matt for anyone. And he's way better at this when talking about football than me. So I'm going to make everyone's day worse. Matt, the New York Jets have been named as a team that could acquire Budda Baker if the not very good Arizona Cardinals decide to move on from him. Obviously, he's in his final year of his contract, and this was brought to light by Dan Braziano, an insider at ESPN, who mentioned that Baker's unsigned beyond this season and would be an impact player for any team needing a safety. At the deadline, he has 18 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup over the first 2 games of the season. Obviously, he's played a third game by now. The Cardinals would have to be out of contention to consider this trade, as Baker's a longtime player for them, and his $14.2 million salary would not be a piece of cake to move. But unless the Cards extend him at some point, you have to think they'd at least be taking calls on Baker. And he also mentions, here's where the Jets come in, that it seems like the Philadelphia Eagles are perpetually on the lookout for safeties, and it's always one of the most active teams on the trade market. The Eagles love to bring in big-name veterans at midseason. Watch the Jets and the Browns also if Baker were to become available. Matt, obviously, seeing Braziano highlight the Jets is interesting. The Jets clearly have not taken that much interest into their safety position whatsoever. They understand that obviously you can't have random players out there, but they're not going out there and valuing the safety as the most, important defensive back position. Not to say their safeties are bad. I think when it comes to the AFC East, the duo of Chuck Clark and Tony Adams is one of the better safety duos in at least the Jets division. But looking at Baker, obviously he would make him better. There's a lot that goes into it. What are you thinking on this?
So, first thing I'm thinking, of course, Budda Baker would be a massive upgrade for the Jets safety tandem, seeing how he's been a Pro Bowler the last 5 years straight. Probably going to be a Pro Bowler again this year. So, in 2020, he was first-team All-Pro. First-team All-Pro in 2017 as well, and second-team All-Pro in 2021. So, there's no denying this player's talent. The thing I'm scared about is, as you saw in that quote, that $14.2 million per year salary is really, really gross. And seeing how the Jets only have $17 million and a little bit of change to spare on that cap space for the rest of the year, I'm not sure this is the upgrade that the Jets are looking for their football team right now. Because, of course, Tony Adams, Chuck Clark, they're solid, is what I call them, is solid players, because they're not blowing anyone away, but they're definitely exactly what we're looking for with our scheme, with what Coach Saleh is trying to run for this team and for this year. So we're going to take a look. Budda Baker is the player that could potentially be open for the Cardinals. Also said by the quote that we put on the screen was how he's been a player for the Cardinals for a long time, and they are a really big fan of this player, and that they would need to be out of contention for this trade to happen. That is definitely true, because if you took a close look at that picture, you might have seen on his chest is that captain's patch. He's one of 4 captains for the Arizona Cardinals. He's one of 2 captains on their defense. Definitely a big, important piece for that team. And for them being a contender or not this year, they're 1-2 right now, but those 2 losses are to the Lions and to the Lions and to the Bills. So those are two really good teams, what we think right now. The Bills are undefeated, playing like one of the best teams in the league. The Lions are also playing like one of the best teams in the league. So we don't know this early in the season whether or not they're going to be a good or a bad team, because Kyler came out looking like the ACL tear never happened. He's looking amazing. Marvin Harrison Jr. is looking as advertised from week 2 on. And Trey McBride, he's dealing with concussion this week, but he looks pretty good. So Jets fans are hoping that he doesn't that the Cardinals don't play very well this year, so this trade is a possibility. But looking at what the Jets would consider moving should they have enough interest in Budda Baker, it would be some sort of package of day 3 picks. Looking at the Jets' future draft capital, they have in 2024 this year, we have a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick, and 2 6th round picks to play with. And in 2025, it's a 4th, a 5th, 2 6ths, and a 7th round pick. So Budda Baker would be 28 years old. He would be going into currently in 2024 is the last year on his contract. So that's also going to be another factor that's going to be driving down his trade market, because if the Cardinals decide to move on from him and if they decide to trade him, that obviously means they're not planning to re-sign him. So other teams are going to know they're looking to get out of him, and they're just trying to see whatever trade capital they can pick up for their player. Now, looking at a similar trade to what a Budda Baker trade would look like, in 2023, midway through the season last year, the Philadelphia Eagles traded for Kevin Byard, who was also a 2-time All-Pro safety when he was playing for the Titans. That trade was a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick, and but he was a 1st round pick a couple of years ago, Terrell Edmunds. But Terrell Edmunds is not, I don't want to call him not a real player, but this year he signed a 1-year deal for $1,250,000. So he's not exactly a coveted player in the NFL. So pretty much a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick is what was traded to acquire Kevin Byard. I expect Budda Baker is going to be better than that, so he would probably garner slightly better trade capital than that. But a 4th and a 5th for Budda Baker, I have to imagine a Budda Baker trade would look something like a 4th, a 5th, and maybe 2 6ths, or a 4th, a 6, a 7. But the problem isn't the draft capital that the Jets would have to give up for him, because of course these day 3 picks, they're fun, and everyone says that day 3 of the draft is where your team is built in the NFL, which is true, because that's where you get a ton of guys. Every team needs depth. That's where your depth players come from. The problem for the Jets is that $14.2 million per year salary that we would inherit with Budda Baker. And Chris, there are some players. There is one specific player that a lot of Jets fans want to trade for, and this Budda Baker trade would spell an end to any Devontae Adams trade to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, there's that huge instance of it. And when looking at that, it does make it scary to think about. You're trading away 4 day 3 picks. And what almost scares me as most is, as you saw my door open right there, I live alone. So someone's about to come chop my head off. But no, in all seriousness, I don't. In all seriousness, look, it's not that much of an upgrade for the Jets, where I think giving away a bunch of day 3 picks and losing all your money to a sense, and you're not really going to be able to make another trade then. Like, unless you're giving away another big salary, and the Jets don't have too many salaries that are big enough that you just want to toss out the window. Their contracts are very good. Budda Baker isn't the upgrade that they need. If anything, and I understand WMD, the weapon of mass destruction, Will McDonald, has been phenomenal as just an edge rusher. But if anything, my mind still goes to, as long as Hassan Reddick is not going to play, and we actually have kind of an update on that, so we're going to break that down tomorrow. But as long as Reddick is not going to play, I'd rather the Jets go for more of a pass rush than anything else. Chuck Clark and Tony Adams are fine as the safeties. I'd rather save the draft picks, save your day 3 picks, save your money, save your cap space. Budda Baker, obviously a great player. It's not that it doesn't make sense because it's an upgrade, but as you said, it's not really an upgrade that's worth it.
Yeah, I agree with that. But one thing that was something I really didn't see coming before I did more research into this was I was trying to think, how important is the safety position in terms of winning playoff games and going to a Super Bowl? So I took a look at the other rosters of the top 4 teams from the AFC and NFC championship games last year, the Lions, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, and looked at their safeties. And the Ravens, of course, have Kyle Hamilton, the number 1 safety in the league by a mile. They played the Chiefs, who have Justin Reed, who you hear his name a lot when the Chiefs play, but he's a pretty decent player. But what was interesting was the Chiefs. Justin Reed isn't a player who jumps off the page, but the Chiefs are paying him $14.25 million per year. So they clearly are they are extremely conscious on spending money on their safeties. So they clearly think it's an important thing to do is spending money on a safety. So anything the Chiefs do, I think is a pretty good thing to look at for the Jets to do too, because the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in a row, 3 over the past however many years. But going over the NFC, their safeties too, the Lions, Brian Branch, a rookie, 5th in defensive rookie of the year voting. He's their strong safety. And the 49ers, of course, had Hufanga, who was a highly, highly decorated safety. I don't actually remember if he was an All-Pro or not, but I am pretty darn sure that he was the other first-team All-Pro other than Kyle Hamilton. So looking at from an importance perspective at the safety, it seems like it is an important position to have locked down. But the Jets, it doesn't look like they're going to have the cap space to be making a move like this.
Yeah, and I will say it's an excellent point that, yeah, the safety position is clearly important. But do any of those teams have the best cornerback in the NFL, the best slot cornerback in the NFL, and also a top 10, top 15 corner at the very worst in DJ Reed? Like, the Jets, they make up for it by having these corners. And, again, it's not like Chuck Clark and Tony Adams are bad. They're absolutely viable NFL starters. They're solid players on the team. Where it doesn't make sense, especially if you're going to patch up defense. Now, things do change if Hassan Reddick comes back. Then, yeah, safety's probably the position you want to upgrade more than anything else, talking about defense. But if Reddick's not playing, then it's still pass rushing to me. It's still getting on that edge. And if anything else, I'd still rather Devontae. Anything else you got?
So Hufanga for the 49ers, of course, had that season-ending injury last year, but his last full year in 2023, he was first-team All-Pro safety. So
I figured it out, everyone.
Yep.
Now, guys, I was joking about joking. I actually do live alone, so I'm going to go outside and, unfortunately, have my days come to an end. But, guys, unless I win the fight, I'm a big guy. But, guys, have a great day. Go Jets. Subscribe. Pray for me that I survive this.